Bitcoin is a real asset, and it is here to stay. And its maximum cap of 21 million makes it the scarcest asset on Earth, and ultimately, the most attractive asset. Listen to all the money managers that praise it.
If we're right and companies continue to diversify their cash into something like Bitcoin, and institutional investors start allocating 5% of their funds, we believe that the price will be tenfold of where it is today. So instead of 45,000, over 500,000.
Pienso que es un activo que debe de estar en el portafolio de cualquier inversionista.
The number one thing that I would recommend to people is have some defensive things in there. I personally think Bitcoin is a long.
I have a certain amount of money in Bitcoin. It's a small percentage of that which I have in gold, which is a relatively small percentage of what I have in my other asset classes and so on. And I think that has the merit.
I like Bitcoin as a portfolio diversifier. Everyone always asks me, what should I do with my portfolio? My employees say, I say, okay, listen, the only thing that I know for certain is I want to have 5% in gold, 5% in Bitcoin, 5% in cash, 5% in commodities at this point in time. I don't know what I want to do with the other 80%.
I do own some of it. It's gone up a lot since I bought it.
Obviously, the tone of this asset class is changing.
Well, I think it's worth considering all the alternatives to cash and all the alternatives to some of the financial assets. And so Bitcoin is a possibility, is that a merit?
We had 26% more dollars in circulation than over the past 244 years. If you put the whole stimulus in, which it will happen, that's another 16% more dollar formation. So you've got a 40% increase in dollar volume. That's going to show up in asset prices.
Yo empecé mi carrera profesional en el 81. El peso estaba a 20 por 1. Hoy estamos a 20,000 por 1. A mí no me cuenten. Y eso es aquí en México, pero si lo hacemos en Venezuela o en Argentina o en Zimbabue, las cifras pierden toda proporción, ¿no? Entonces, el fraude del fiat es una cosa inherente al sistema fiat y lo estamos viendo ahorita suceder en Estados Unidos. La emisión monetaria se fue a la luna, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, el dólar como moneda dura pues es una broma.
When facts change, I change. I mean, you know, I'm an investor. The environment's changing. And what really turned me was moves made by regulators in Switzerland, where I'm an investor, France, Germany, England, and then Canada opened up. They now have 7 different financial instruments trading on their exchanges that hold crypto as the underlying, which is a complete reversal of what's occurred.
If you really understand Bitcoin, you'll recognize why places like Morgan Stanley are coming into the space. It's a scarce asset. And as we were talking about last time I was on the show, that supply-demand imbalance plus the impregnability of the blockchain is going to make that asset very attractive in a world printing money like this.
It's an amazing accomplishment to have brought it from where that programming occurred to where it is and take the test of time.
They've done this unbelievable marketing job. It's been around 13 years. And particularly younger millennials look at it the way I've always looked at gold.
I like Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is math, and math has been around for thousands of years. And 2 plus 2 is going to equal 4, and it will for the next 2,000 years. So I like the idea of investing in something that's reliable, consistent, honest, and 100% certain.
Para mí, lo finito del Bitcoin, los 21 millones, es la clave de todo el tema. Por eso decía yo lo de Ethereum, ¿no? Que mientras no tenga una cantidad finita de emisión, no les creo nada, ¿no? Pueden emitir más y se deprecia tu activo, ¿no?
So Bitcoin has appealed to me because it's a way for me to invest in certainty.
There's a country that uses Bitcoin. There's regions in Switzerland where you can pay for your taxes in Bitcoin. There's just all of this adoption and acceptance that is happening around the world now, even by governments, which just changes the rules and makes it more and more robust. The community makes it alive regardless of political, geopolitical, and so on situations. The fact that governments are themselves allowing the use of this in whatever form or way confirms it.
My name is Enrique Bukele and I'm president of El Salvador. Great ideas are beautiful and have great power. But like most beautiful things, they can also be more fragile than we think. When I was a kid, we thought about the future and we were delighted by its possibility. We couldn't wait for it to happen and be part of its creation. But now, ask almost anyone what they think about the future and they will say something along the lines of nuclear war, climate catastrophe, hunger, pestilence, the death of life. We didn't take care of the beautiful idea that we create our own future, that we as humanity can do almost anything that we imagine. Our ingenuity, what separates us from other species. In El Salvador, we are trying to rescue this idea and start the design of a country for the future, using the best ingredients that makes us who we are, while using sensibility to find the best examples of ideas from history and around the world. I believe Bitcoin could be one of these ideas. That is why next week, I will send to Congress a bill that will make Bitcoin a legal tender in El Salvador. In the short term, this will generate jobs and help provide financial inclusion to thousands outside the formal economy.
Queda aprobada la ley de Bitcoin.
Lawmakers in El Salvador broke into applause after voting to approve Bitcoin as legal tender on Wednesday, making the Central American country the first in the world to fully adopt the cryptocurrency.
Bitcoiners around the world, the time has come. We are ready.
Este es un paso importante para nuestro país.
This is an important step for our country, a step for technology, a step into the future to bring us financial inclusion, investment, tourism, innovation, and economic development to our country.
Bukele has even more ambitious plans for Bitcoin, saying later on Wednesday that he wanted to use renewable energy from the country's volcanoes to offer Bitcoin mining facilities, which generate new units of the cryptocurrency, and instructed state-owned geothermal energy firm Laheo to come up with a plan to make it happen.
The objective seems to be using Bitcoin as a actual medium of payment, medium of exchange, much more frictionless in the country, eliminating all capital gains taxes, which is, of course, a big impediment to actually using this thing as a currency, potentially in service of making, Bitcoin-based remittances cheaper and less frictional, for instance. So that seems to be sort of the main thrust of the law.
What can we extrapolate then as far as what the future holds beyond El Salvador here? Do you think we'll see other, legitimate countries like El Salvador embrace this and other larger countries?
We know that Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, stablecoins have very high penetration in places like Colombia and Argentina. Latin America is certainly no stranger to sovereign defaults or periods of high inflation or monetary repression. So we see high penetration there. There's certainly a class of policymakers that see an opportunity to gain favor by signaling their affinity. We'll see what happens. But this is El Salvador is the first non-pariah state to really legitimize and legalize Bitcoin usage in sort of its intended way. It seems like a big sea change, frankly.
Banks, as opposed to governments, banks are businesses. They sure have their own personal interest at hand, but they will adapt to what their customers need. And they're adapting now, actually. They realize that they need to be able to offer some new financial services that will be around crypto, because they're going to be left behind completely, because a guy like me, a person like you, just won't need their services anymore, because all of this already exists in a completely decentralized and uncontrolled way.
According to crypto firm NYDIG, hundreds of U.S. banks are asking for Bitcoin, planning to allow customers to buy, hold, and sell the digital currency through their existing accounts as soon as this year. For more details, let's bring in CNBC.com banking reporter Hugh Sun. Hugh, what had to happen behind the scenes in order for people to be able to access Bitcoin in their banks?
Hey, Kelly, nice to be with you. So there's a company called FIS. And so FIS is one of these, back-end providers to banks. They actually have about 300 million checking accounts through their thousands of bank clients. And so they service their tech vendor that serves a bunch of banks. And then there's also a Bitcoin custody company called NYDIG. And they're one of the companies like sort of a galaxy. So NYDIG has a deal with Morgan Stanley, for instance, to offer institutional funds to their wealthy clients. So you have some nascent players joining some established tech vendors. FIS is a $95 billion company market cap.
Yeah.
And they basically said, we're going to make it easy for people to actually own Bitcoin. It is, after all, a financial asset. And they've done studies that said basically, if people have the ability to own Bitcoin through their existing financial relationship, through the portal that they deal with their other money, their fiat money, if they're able to do that, you're going to have greater adoption. And so basically what they're going to have is as they turn this on, you're going to have access to clients, the customers of these community and regional banks that sign on for this. They're going to be able to go to their bank app and actually look inside their bank app and see crypto all right next to their other deposits and their savings.
Well, we want to be in the middle of any movement of funds, and we don't try to decide what's going to take off or not take off, and we don't pick winners and losers. We just get ready to enable whatever could possibly happen. And I think crypto is an exciting trend. There's cryptocurrencies, which are kind of the digital gold. Think of Bitcoin, and what we're trying to do is create utility. Which first of all making sure that our Visa cards are used to be able to purchase Bitcoin, and then when somebody wants to convert their Bitcoin to a fiat currency, use a Visa credential to go shop at our 70 million merchants around the world. So we're trying to create that utility. So we're working with 35 of the biggest biggest crypto wallets around the world, making sure that these various digital currencies can be converted into a fiat currency, and that money can then be spent from a Visa card in a wallet, and again, at any one of our 70 million merchants around the world.